Hi, Maureen here from the VPP. Today, let's talk about building self-esteem. This is a disclaimer that some of the content that we cover today could be triggering for some of you. It may provoke strong emotions, reactions, or realizations to your current way of thinking. If you are feeling triggered, it's okay. There's help available. At the end of this presentation, I'll provide you with a list of community resources that can help support you further. If you're feeling triggered, please step away from the computer, take some time, protect your mental health, and reach out to someone who can help. Today, we'll explore the concept of self-esteem, what it is, what affects it, and what constitutes a healthy or unhealthy self-esteem. We'll also discuss strategies that will help you build a more positive mindset and improve your resiliency. So, what is self-esteem? Self-esteem is defined as the belief and confidence in one's own worth, value, and abilities. It's the personal opinion you have of yourself. Sometimes self-esteem and self-worth are used interchangeably, but for the purposes of today's presentation, we'll be using the term self-esteem. We hear a lot about raising and boosting self-esteem, but why is it important? Self-esteem is important because it heavily influences our choices and decisions. Healthy self-esteem increases people's motivation. When you understand your potential, you're much more likely to work towards reaching your goals. Those with unhealthy self-esteem don't tend to regard themselves as worthy of a happy outcome or capable of achieving it, and so they let important things slide and are less persistent or resilient when it comes to overcoming adversity. They may have the same goals as those with healthy self-esteem, but don't see things through to the end. A healthy level of self-esteem is an excellent measure of a person's overall health, wellness, and success. Healthy self-esteem allows us to maintain boundaries, have positive self-talk, advocate for ourselves and get the support that we need, set goals and expectations for ourselves and those around us, and seek out people and situations that make us happy. Our self-esteem comes from our experiences with the people in our lives and messaging from outside sources like the media, but we have the power to increase our self-esteem and make that voice in our heads more positive. So what affects our self-esteem? This isn't an exhaustive list, but these are factors that we felt were important to mention. The first is wellness, and this includes your physical, mental, and emotional wellness. Your second is your self-perception and core beliefs. What is it that you believe about yourself? What do you see when you look in the mirror? Your thoughts become beliefs, and these contribute to your confidence in your abilities, your value, and your worth. Next is social media. What kinds of social media platforms are you engaged in? Are you aware of the impact that they have on your self-esteem? What kinds of messages are you receiving from people you know, advertisers, and influencers? And lastly, it's our relationships. Are you engaged in healthy or unhealthy relationships? An unhealthy relationship can have a significant impact on our self-esteem. To learn more about this, watch our Relationship Dynamics and Violence video. All aspects of our wellness contribute to the personal opinion we have of ourselves. Factors that affect our mental wellness include things in our environment like bullying, trauma, childhood experiences, or problems in our social or family circles. These are all things that can take up our mental space and energy. Factors contributing to our physical wellness include things we put into our body and how well we're taking care of ourselves. Think about how you feel when you're not taking care of your body. Maybe staying up too late, eating too much junk food, not moving as much as you should, or neglecting your personal hygiene or self-care. Factors that affect our emotional wellness are our stress and anxiety levels and the level of support that we have. Few supports, unhealthy relationships, and many stressors are all things that can drain our emotional wellness. As we discussed, one factor that can influence your self-esteem is your self-perception or core beliefs. Core beliefs are a person's most central ideas about themselves, others, and the world. Imagine your core beliefs being like a pair of sunglasses. They affect how you view your world around you and others in it. Having a negative core belief about oneself can lead to thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that can negatively affect your life and reinforce your negative worldview. Let's talk about how our different lenses can affect the ways we feel and behave. If we grow up watching unhealthy relationships or being part of unhealthy dynamics, it can impact our self-esteem and our core beliefs. In turn, our self-esteem impacts the relationships that we have with our intimate partners, families, and friends. Remember that our core beliefs are like a pair of sunglasses through which we view the world, and they can alter our perception of people and situations. If we view the world through the lens of not being worthy of love, we may accept whatever variation of love comes our way, including unhealthy and abusive relationships. We can also act in ways that attract people who want to take advantage of the fact that we don't value ourselves. These types of relationships can also create negative beliefs about ourselves that weren't necessarily there before. If we are constantly being told negative things about ourselves or being treated in unfair or demeaning ways, it can severely impact our self esteem. Now, what if our lens was opposite? If we view our world through the lens of I am worthy of love, we tend to feel good, engage more often and more positively with others, and care for ourselves in healthy ways, including knowing what we deserve and standing firm in what we will not tolerate from others. It also has a positive effect on how others view us, usually resulting in a more favorable outcome. If you're looking to start challenging some of your negative core beliefs, this worksheet from therapistaid.com is a great place to start. If you're having trouble identifying what your negative core beliefs are, try to write down some of your more frequent negative thoughts that you have about yourself and try to notice if there's a theme. Now more than ever, young people, and specifically young girls, are being negatively affected by social media. During COVID, lockdown forced people indoors, which meant more and more time on screens. Social media can be a wonderful thing, but it often negatively affects young people. Our self concept, self worth, self esteem, and confidence can get wrapped up in things like likes, friend requests, or going viral. Unfortunately, studies have shown that social media has the power to be more addictive than even cigarettes or alcohol. This is partly due to the fact that it's easily accessible, open 24/7, and is seemingly harmless. Numerous studies continue to indicate a correlation between social media use and elevated risks of anxiety, depression, loneliness, and low self esteem. There are many ways that social media can affect your self esteem, including the following: validation. The craving of the like is enough to drive a person's self worth up or down. A consistent lack of likes can be powerful enough to shake some people's self confidence. Displacement. This refers to what you are not doing during time that's displaced by social media use. This can include mental health boosting activities like sleeping, exercising, or developing talents. And cyberbullying. Bullies have near constant access to you. They can upload videos or images of you without your consent. There's a lack of teacher or parent awareness, and the effects can be long lasting and far reaching. Both cyberbullying victims and offenders report significantly lower self esteem than those who have not experienced cyberbullying. If unhealthy relationships are being modeled for us, for instance, those in our lives struggle with cooperation, healthy boundaries, assertiveness, or conflict resolution, it can impact our self esteem and the way that we view ourselves. Just as we discussed earlier, unhealthy self esteem also impacts our relationships because it influences how much love that we are willing to receive or feel that we deserve, the boundaries and expectations we set for ourselves and others, and our overall happiness with ourselves and those around us. Individuals with unhealthy self esteem may also engage in unhealthy or abusive relationships, as they might feel that love is earned rather than freely given. Abusive relationships can also exacerbate an already unhealthy level of self esteem or create new challenges to self esteem that weren't necessarily there before. So, what are some characteristics of unhealthy self esteem? If you have a negative self image or negative core beliefs, you tend to engage in negative self talk. If you tell yourself something often enough, or if you hear something about yourself often enough, you start to believe it. Do you remember those lenses we talked about earlier? Well, negative self talk can stop you from doing things that you actually really want to do out of fear of rejection or failure. The next is being unkind to yourself or others. If you're unkind to yourself, it can be very difficult to be kind to others. This can indicate a lack of confidence, wanting others to feel the same way you do, or an inability to make and maintain relationships as you're unable to have a healthy relationship with yourself. Next is body posture. The way that we feel about ourselves can often be shown in our body language. Body language is an excellent indicator to ourselves and others as to our level of confidence. Children who are introverted, anxious, or submissive are bullied more often than those who are extroverted or assertive. Some researchers even believe that children with low self-esteem actually attract those who are more prone to bullying. And the last is personal habits. Research indicates that our personal habits can be influenced by our level of self-esteem. For example, think about the things that you do when you're stressed or anxious, such as engaging in excessive substance use, smoking, nail biting, overeating, or eating unhealthy foods. So, then what are characteristics of healthy self esteem? Positive self talk. The way that you talk to yourself reflects how you feel about and how you will treat yourself. Having positive thoughts and self talk will help you to feel and act more positively. Remember those lenses that we talked about. Kindness, having respect for yourself and others. This also has to do with your positive perception of yourself, others, and the world around you. Boundaries. Having healthy boundaries helps support healthy relationships and interactions, making it less likely that you'll engage or stay in unhealthy relationships. Boundaries also include good communication skills and the ability to be assertive or stand up for your needs and wants. And resiliency. To have resiliency is to have good self esteem because it requires a level of trust in your own abilities to navigate life's challenges. Positive self talk is our inner monologue that helps us feel good about ourselves and everything going on in our lives. It's the optimistic voice in our heads that helps us to look at the bright side, pick ourselves up when we fall, and recognize when we fail. People who can master positive self talk are thought to be more confident, motivated, and productive. Some people choose to actively and consciously engage in positive self talk each day, called affirmations. Affirmations are a proven method of self improvement due to their ability to rewire our brains. Much like exercise, they raise levels of feel good hormones and drive our brains to create new bundles of neurons for positive thoughts. If you want to create your own affirmations, start by identifying negative thoughts that you have about yourself and begin challenging them. Try not to just say the opposite of these negative thoughts, but instead argue them with statements that are more kind, realistic, or supported by evidence. Creating a more positive voice in our heads is one of the most important things we can do to raise our levels of self-esteem. It is said that for every one negative thing that we tell ourselves, we need 5 positive things to counteract it. So I'd say it's worth the practice. Maslow was an American psychologist who believed that we all had a hierarchy of needs that needed to be satisfied, ranging from physiological needs all the way to love, esteem, and finally self-actualization. Maslow believed that the healthiest people were those who achieved all the needs in the hierarchy and reached the top. As you can see from the hierarchy, self-esteem is achieved when we gain acceptance and belonging with others. So when others are kind to us and we are kind and accepting of ourselves, healthy self-esteem is built. Think about the last time someone treated you poorly. Did it affect your self-esteem? Maybe you were left questioning yourself or experiencing negative self-talk, or even depression or anxiety. We can be directly affected by the way others treat us and also by witnessing how others treat each other in healthy, unhealthy, or abusive ways. But remember, even if we've been in an unhealthy relationship, we hold the power to change how we view ourselves. Our self-esteem and relationships go hand in hand. When we have healthy self-esteem, we're able to create firm boundaries for ourselves and others, which makes for healthier, more fulfilling relationships. However, if these boundaries are violated by ourselves or others, it impacts our self-esteem. If boundaries are an explanation of what makes us feel safe, comfortable, and respected, then when someone breaks our boundaries, it implies that these things don't matter to them, and by extension, we just aren't that important. When we stand firm in our clearly defined boundaries and insist that we do matter, and that our comfort, safety, and respect are not only important but necessary, the more likely others are to see us in this way as well. In turn, this bolsters our self-esteem and makes it easier to create stronger boundaries in the future. Another important factor affecting our self-esteem is resiliency. Resiliency is defined as bouncing back from adversity and maintaining strength. Our resiliency can be directly impacted by our level of self-esteem. Those with healthy self-esteem are said to be more resilient, mainly due to the fact that they trust in their own ability to manage difficult situations. So, if you work towards building healthy self-esteem, resiliency will follow. We all have experiences and stress that affect our wellness, perception, and confidence, but we all also have the capability to build our self-esteem and to make ourselves more resilient and bounce back from life's challenges. As we encounter life's challenges, we build self-esteem by learning to trust ourselves and to stop underestimating our abilities. When we feel good about ourselves and know that we can handle difficult situations, we bounce back a lot easier. Here are some ways that you can boost your resiliency. The first is to give yourself credit for all that you've overcome. Think about all of the life situations that you've already been through and overcome. What accomplishments have you made? The second is to identify your strengths. What is the best part about being you? These could be skills, abilities, values, or even how you help others. The third is to focus on how you have done as well as you have so far. This involves focusing on what is working. So, say that you're not the best at making it to school on time every day. Instead of focusing on all the times that you were late, focus instead on the times that you did make it on time. What qualities, supports, or skills did you rely on to make it there? And the last is to start using your strengths to solve your current life problems. If you want to improve your self-esteem, you need to examine what parts of yourself you aren't yet ready to accept. Liking yourself more mostly has to do with self-acceptance. It's only when we stop judging ourselves that we can secure a more positive sense of self, which is why our self-esteem naturally rises as soon as we stop being so hard on ourselves. The next time you harshly criticize yourself for your words, actions, or appearance, think about whether or not that's something you'd say to someone you love. What would you tell them instead? One of the most important things that the violence prevention team wants you to take away from this is that we all have the capacity to build self-esteem. Here are some tips to help you nurture and sustain self-esteem in yourself and others. As promised, here's a list of community resources that can help support you further. Thank you so much for watching today. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at WCS_VPP and follow our QR code to the Ontario Trillium Foundation survey. Feedback from this survey helps ensure our funding, as well as helps us to continuously improve these presentations for future audiences.